That's a beautiful thing is there's Deborah and Steve just walking down the aisle and just coming in there, old Stone Cold Steve Austin's office. Greeted by God. Look at these folks. Look at all these folks.
This is Steve Austin Appreciation Day here on Monday Night Raw, isn't it?
It's a beautiful day. It is a beautiful day. You've got the greats, all the way from Chuck Palumbo standing front and center, Terry Test in the background. There's Taz. Taz is standing on top of a dresser, and so that we can see him. Chavo Guerrero, Sugar Shane Helms. So what's up with that? Is in there as well. Of course, Stephanie McMahon front and center. And by God, it's the whole group of that damn WCW kind of alliance thing that was just so absolutely god-awful horrible.
What do you think of Stone Cold as the leader of the alliance? Did you like this version of the character?
I did. From this vantage point, we got to do different stuff, and we got to do different things, and you got to feel, once Steve really understood, they're not going to let you turn heel, man. They're still going to love you and love everything you do. That we started playing, and we got to play with this character from the standpoint of Steve did comedy. Steve was just completely off the cuff. And even when it was, he would do bad comedy and laugh at himself. And then that was funny shit because people didn't get it. So it was different. It was different than what he had been. So for that, I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I kind of enjoyed it at the time as well because it was different. But I could certainly see that it felt like the company was losing some momentum as 2001 went on. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, because we had a completely different plan coming out of WrestleMania. We had a plan of Steve and Triple H, running roughshod over everybody and being the main focus, and it just kind of blew up as soon as Hunter tore his quad and he's out. And right. The invasion, you have a vision, you have a hope anyway. I don't know if there was so much a vision as there was a hope that this WCW thing with the talent that came in from WCW after the buyout, that they were going to be accepted and that the audience would believe them as a threat and and that the audience wanted to see them. And instead we got the guys that the audience didn't want to see, which was evident while they were at WCW. They certainly weren't making any changes or big waves in WCW at the time. So what would make you think they were going to make waves coming up here? And they didn't. And it just wasn't good. Wasn't good.
We're just a month removed from the big Invasion pay-per-view. That was the biggest pay-per-view buy rate of the year besides WrestleMania. At first, it looks like it's 750,000 buys. It's going to wind up being even more successful than that. So it becomes the fourth most purchased pro wrestling pay-per-view in history, trailing only the past three WrestleManias. It's a big opportunity. I mean, when you see the numbers come in for Invasion, even though maybe creatively you knew you weren't satisfied as someone inside the tent, when you see those numbers come in for Invasion, do you think, hey, listen, maybe there's still hope for this thing? Or did you know creatively it was a no-win situation?
Look, yeah, as I said, no different than with the talent coming in. There was hope.
Yeah.
There was definitely hope. But I also feel that in dealing with a lot of it, it was not the same level of experience, not the same level of ability. And while you're trying to put a lot of these talent into situations that they've never been in before. So it just wasn't an even playing field. It really wasn't, and bless her heart, Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson, both, they never worked before.
No,
they didn't get into the business to work, but they had the right attitude and came in going, yeah, I'll learn. I'll do what I can. I'll do whatever I have to do to train and to get in the ring and try to get this done. Taking a look at Nora right now in the ring as Molly Holly, a few years before that, she had never been in the ring either. So anything can happen. And if you have the right attitude, then this will work. And it's just, we had a lot of that. We had a lot of rawness, the can't even remember the guy's name. That was part of the group in WCW. I don't know, but he was with Sean O'Hare and those guys, and everybody thought that he was just the greatest thing in the world.
Above average Mike Sanders?
Maybe, yeah. And he was well below average.
Oh, goodness.
God, he just was not good. He was not good. If he couldn't do his sing-songy stuff that he had memorized, he was dead in the water, and his work wasn't good. So you had a lot of those guys that when they're the best of what they had at the time, they had a lot of young guys working with each other. So the better ones look like, okay, well, this guy's good, but you realize that, well, they're just better in this situation because of who they're working with. You put them in the ring with a Steve Austin or a Rock or somebody else like that, and you suddenly realize very quickly that, okay, well, we got Booker T. Thank you. And again, that's the way I always looked at it, man. I was like, well, we got Booker. You know what? I'm happy with that. Because Booker was really, the shining star out of that. And then subsequent to that, of course, Tori and Stacy Keibler both, excelled and, came out, and they were great additions into what they did. Great attitudes.
It's talked about in the newsletters that there's at least been preliminary discussions with Goldberg, and there's speculation that he's going to be looking for like $2.5 million a year for 2 years to come in. And it's written that, well, Vince is not likely to make that sort of deal. Do you remember the holdup with Goldberg in this era being the dollar figure?
Yeah, it was as simple as he had a contract. He wanted his money from his contract. We were not willing to pay that kind of money. So he sits at home, he gets his money, he doesn't care. Goldberg, a lot of those guys, from Goldberg to Hall and Nash and Hogan and all them, they had great contracts. They were going to get paid. If they sat home and did nothing, they didn't care. So a lot of those were, okay, maybe when your contract is up, then give us a call. But we're not going to. But if you're expecting that kind of money, maybe not.
If you were them and you were in their shoes, what would you have done?
It depends. I think that where I was in my career, because again, you look at Booker T. Booker T said, no, man, I want the opportunity. I know I can do it. And I believe I can make more money on the other side if they just give me the opportunity now. And that paid off for him because he had talent. I look at Diamond Dallas Page, who said, no, I want to work. And, Dallas forego it. So I have a lot more respect from that vantage point. But I cannot blame any of those guys for saying, making $2.5 million the next year and a half or however much longer I have on my contract, and I can go do whatever else I want to do. That's a tough decision. I can't begrudge anybody for taking that. It's not a bad deal. And then wait it out. And if you still have that much confidence in you, come back and do it all over again. But take that money because you're not going to get it here.